6 months after the morning I got arrested in my own parking lot, the department signed his suspension papers. 3 months after that, the city wired me $870,000. And a year later, the officer who cuffed me was no longer allowed to wear a badge anywhere in the state. That's how the story ends. But that's not how it felt when it started. It started at 9:12 a.m. on a Tuesday with a cup of coffee in my hand, and absolutely no idea my life was about to split into before and after. I've owned Bayside Plaza for 15 years. I'm 58 years old, and I didn't inherit anything. No trust fund, no family empire, nothing like that. I built that place storefront by storefront. When I first bought into it, the roof leaked and half the units were empty. I signed papers I could barely afford and prayed every month the rent checks would clear. Over time, it became something I was proud of. So when I pulled my silver Range Rover into the spot marked reserved management only, I wasn't trying to make a statement. I parked there because it's my spot. I had the sign installed myself 3 years ago when we resurfaced the lot. I approved the metal post. I paid the contractor. You know what I mean? It wasn't symbolic, it was practical. I turned off the engine, grabbed a file for our north wing renovation, and stepped out. The air smelled like fresh pavement and coffee from the cafe near the entrance. Then I heard tires roll up behind me. A patrol car stopped close enough that I couldn't back out even if I wanted to. The lights flashed once quick and bright, then went dark. I figured maybe someone hit a bumper or there was a complaint nearby. I didn't assume it had anything to do with me. The officer stepped out and walked straight toward me like he already knew the ending. "Get back in your vehicle," he said. No greeting, no question. I blinked. "Is there a problem?" He pointed at the metal sign and tapped it with his baton. "That spot's not for you." I remember actually smiling because I thought we were about to clear up a misunderstanding in 30 seconds. "I'm the owner," I told him. "I own this shopping center." I even gestured toward the management office 10 feet away. "We can walk inside. I'll show you the paperwork." He shook his head. "Didn't ask for ID, didn't run the plates, didn't check anything." "I don't need your phone," he said before I even offered it. That's when I felt something tighten in my chest. "Officer Ethan Blake, badge 492, his tone. "Officer Ethan Blake, badge 492. His tone was clipped, irritated that I'd even asked. A couple came out of the coffee shop and slowed down. A delivery driver set down a crate and started recording. The security camera mounted above the awning kept rolling like it always does. I told him again calmly that I was the legal owner of the property. He stepped back and called for a tow truck. "Priority." I couldn't believe it. "You're towing my car?" I asked. He didn't respond to the question. The tow truck rolled in within minutes, diesel engine rumbling across the lot I pay taxes on. I stepped in front of my vehicle, not aggressively, just standing there. "I'm protecting my property," I said. He moved closer, pulled handcuffs from his belt. "You are obstructing a police officer." Before I could process it, he turned me around and cuffed my hands behind my back. The click of the metal was loud, sharper than I expected. My phone was still in my hand until it got shoved into my jacket pocket. "Are you serious right now?" I asked him. He didn't answer. He led me to the patrol car and told me to get in. The door shut. Locked. And through that back window I watched a chain slide under my Range Rover. No one asked for my keys. No one put it in neutral. When the winch pulled, the front bumper scraped against the concrete. I felt that in my stomach. 2 strangers stood there filming while my car was dragged onto a flatbed in the parking lot I've managed for over a decade. Yeah, that happened. I thought that was the worst part. It wasn't. The tow truck hadn't even left yet when he climbed onto the flatbed and opened my driver's door. I was still cuffed in the back of the cruiser when he got into my seat. He opened my center console, then the glove compartment, then leaned into the back seat. "I do not consent to a search of my vehicle," I called out clearly. I made sure it was loud enough for the body cam to pick up. He didn't respond. He opened my trunk using the interior button, lifted the cargo cover, and rummaged through a toolbox and 2 bags of construction documents. No warrant, no supervisor. No explanation. I said it again, "I do not consent." He walked back toward me at one point and said, "If you don't say no, that's consent." I stared at him through the window. I just said no. He walked away. 15 minutes later, we pulled into the back gate of the station. My hands were still cuffed. When we walked into intake, Sergeant Mark Hill looked up from behind a steel desk. "Who'd you bring in?" he asked. Obstruction Officer Blake replied. "Refused to move her vehicle from an unauthorized space." I spoke up. "I own Bayside Plaza. I want these cuffs off and I want my injuries documented." There was a pause, the kind that feels heavy. The sergeant looked at the officer. Did you run the plates? No answer. Did you verify ownership? Silence. The cuffs came off. Red marks were already forming on my wrists. They photographed them with a department phone. I asked for copies of the photos and the complete body cam footage. I need the records today, I said. The tech department was told to back everything up immediately. Within 48 hours, I filed a civil suit. Wrongful arrest, unlawful seizure, illegal search. The bystander video was submitted. The audio of him saying silence equals consent was transcribed word for word. When my attorney pulled records 3 months later, we found that in the previous 3 years, he had ordered 42 vehicles towed from commercial properties. 38 times, no supervisor was present. Not a single consent to search form in any of those files. Patterns matter. The city's attorneys met behind closed doors. They chose not to take it to trial. 6 months after that Tuesday morning, we reached a settlement. $870,000. Transferred that same week. It was one of the highest payouts for a wrongful individual arrest in the city's history. Officer Blake's employment was terminated. His state certification was revoked. The tow company lost its municipal contract for failing to verify ownership while the driver was present. The department implemented a new rule. A supervisor must be on site before towing from private property when the owner is there, and any vehicle search requires clear recorded verbal consent. Internally, they started calling it the Carter Protocol. A year later, I stood in that same parking spot. The old sign had been replaced with a new one, bright and clean. I had sold the Range Rover at a charity auction. A different car sat there now. A security guard walked by and said, "Morning, Mrs. Carter." I nodded and went into my office like any other day. The case file sits in a metal cabinet at my lawyer's office. When I look at it, I don't see headlines or numbers. I see timestamps. 9:12 a.m. parking, 9:23 a.m. tow requested, 9:36 a.m. arrest. It's a chain of decisions. The whole case turned on one thing, a search without explicit consent. So here's what I still think about. Was $870,000 fair? Does money balance being handcuffed in your own parking lot while people film you, like you're the criminal? And what about the people who don't own the plaza, who don't have cameras mounted above the awning, who can't afford attorneys to dig through records for 3 years? Silence is not consent. Shock is not consent. Being in cuffs is not consent. Power doesn't get to rewrite language just because it's inconvenient. I'd love to hear what you think. Was this justice or just damage control? Have you ever been in a situation where someone in authority assumed you didn't belong? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this story if it moved you, and if you want more real breakdowns of cases like this, subscribe and stick around. Let's talk about it.